This is a bit of a weird topic because it goes back to when I can't remember if we did it on this show a couple of weeks ago, or if it was just on my show, or if it was just on Twitter, or if I dreamed the whole thing. But it'll be a story that's a couple of weeks old now, which is the somehow losing the ability to speak English under oath when you've been testifying under oath in English for several hours and using words like specificity and microaggression. That was Ottawa City Councillor Matthew Fleury. But sometimes the opinion columnists are a little bit late to the party here. I am myself a victim of that. It'll take me a while to write a column, and by the time I publish it, other people have moved on, but I think it's still relevant. In this particular case, the Toronto Star, in a piece on the 26th, so that was Wednesday of this week, took aim at Francophobia at the Emergencies Act Inquiry. It was a piece contributed by Isabelle Bourgault-Tassé, which I believe is an Irish-Chinese name, if memory serves. But Isabelle Bourgault-Tassé says that Francophonie meets Francophobia at the Emergencies Act Inquiry. And she says, English is always first, the French follows, my tongue is put in its place, disquieting absence of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis languages, manifestations of Canada's troubling linguistic pecking order, emblematic of the country's colonial history. Man, in diverse woke bingo, that one just got a straight line, a box, the four corners, diagonal line, everything. And what I find interesting about this, and the column just goes on to talk about, Matthew Fleury's Francophone, Anglophone distinction and all of that. But it's of all the things you take from that, we made fun of the language thing, but it wasn't actually the central thesis of the Public Order Emergency Commission's work. It's you just have to be really looking for a grievance if you've been watching 11, 12 days of testimony now, and that's the one thing you've taken from it is they're Francophobes.
It's very easy, I think, sometimes if you're really plugged into the day-to-day news and it's your job to read too much into things. And I think all of us at certain points fall victim to that, just overanalyzing things and reading too deep into them. The reality is, as we all know, Matthew Fleury just miraculously forgot how to speak English when he was put in his place and asked to define a word that he had accused truckers of committing microaggressions multiple times. The second he was asked to define that, he breaks out the whole "I'm Francophone" for the first time, I should say, in the hearing. The only time he broke that out was when he was being cross-examined by Brendan Miller, the convoy lawyer. So very, very, very creative excuse to just decide, actually, I'm not going to be able to speak in English for this one section, and I'm going to go back to speaking English just fine, without an accent, without a problem, right after I'm done being questioned by someone I don't like. And that's really what this is all about. And the article itself is so absurd, Andrew. You talked about the woke bingo card, the fact that, it would be an instant win. Those aren't even all the sort of fake words they're putting into this article. There's one here, Anglo-normativity, which I haven't heard before. It's like this idea, I guess it's becoming too normal, Andrew, to speak English in Canada. Last time I checked, I think English is the dominant language spoken in Canada by quite a significant ways. So I guess in that instance, Canada is far too Anglo-normative. And I guess the point of this whole article is to basically say that we speak too much English in this country, and it's not right. At the beginning, this writer says that along with the fact that English is always first and French follows, it's in tandem with the curious, disquieting absence of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis languages. And I'm just trying to figure this out, Andrew. Is this article trying to basically tell us that we need to have Inuit, Métis, and First Nations languages in government documents, in more public places? Is that going to help us better understand things that are going on? I'm very confused about all this. And the reality is, you don't always have to defend people for, absurd things that they're doing that are obviously absurd. I think it would be the average position for anyone who hears this will say, that's ridiculous. This guy sounds like he's just bitter and trying to avoid answering questions. We don't need to have some great big Francophone, Anglophone debate over this. It's clear that Matthew Fleury was obviously playing around, trying to mess around. And he got called out for it by Miller, who rightly said if he was asked to speak French, he reintroduced himself as Je m'appelle Brendan. The perfect response, in my opinion, Andrew, to such a ridiculous thing to try and pull like that, as if no one was really paying attention.